Honor for me to speak here today for the first time on the floor of this distinguished body. I am mindful of the fact that had it not been for the passing of my predecessor, Senator Frank Lautenberg, I would not be here today. So I want to associate myself with the tributes that have already been paid to his memory. Madam President, it occurred to me that if I waited any longer before speaking on the Senate floor for the first time, my maiden speech and my farewell address would be one and the same. My service representing the people of New Jersey in this great institution will be brief. Yet for me, I know it will be one of the highlights of my life. I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to my family, my wife Jenny and my children, Al and Hannah, for enthusiastically supporting the decision we made as a family to allow me to be here. As everyone in public life knows, the support of your family is indispensable to your service. My daughter Hannah is here with me in Washington this week, supporting her dad. I'm also incredibly grateful to Governor Christie for the confidence he has again shown in me by naming me to this position. I am deeply humbled by the opportunity to serve the people of my state, the state where I was born and am raising my own family here in the United States Senate. Some refer to senators who have been appointed to unexpired vacancies as caretakers. I reject that label for myself, as I imagine others have who found themselves in similar positions. No one who has the high honor and privilege of serving in this body should ever be content to serve as a caretaker, to merely keep the seat warm. Representing the people, even for a brief period of time, demands that one work to make a difference. My Senate colleagues show me that every day with their commitment. Today, I would like to use this great honor to help give voice to a shockingly large and largely unseen group of people who have no voice of their own. The United Nations estimates there are upwards of 27 million of them around the globe. There are believed to be at least 100,000 of them here in the United States. They are among the most exploited, abused, and neglected people on the face of the earth. They are victims of human trafficking. They are, to be more direct, modern-day slaves. Over the course of my career, both as an assistant U.S. attorney and, more recently, as the Attorney General of New Jersey, I have come face to face with the terrible misery of human trafficking. The faces of its victims are haunting. They are often young, and more often than not, they are female. They come from every corner of the world, but especially from those places where poverty and want define day-to-day existence. They are exploited by human predators that have no respect for the law and no respect for basic decency. Often lured by their captors with empty promises of a better life, the victims are instead utterly betrayed. These victims are robbed of their youth, their freedom, their dignity, their health, and sometimes even their lives. They must not be forgotten. They must not be robbed of justice. Human traffickers, the purveyors of the modern-day slave trade, do enormous harm to their victims. When these victims are used in the promotion of such crimes as prostitution and child pornography, they are also debasing our neighborhoods and our families. As they exploit the victims by forcing them to labor for little or no money in a wide variety of workplaces and appalling circumstances, they are also exploiting employers who offer good jobs at fair wages and safe working conditions. And as they abuse their victims in ways too horrible to contemplate, they are also abusing our commitment as a society to honor the dignity of every human being. My first exposure to fight against human trafficking goes back to my tenure as an assistant U.S. attorney in New Jersey. And as New Jersey's Attorney General, I made this fight a priority, issuing a directive on human trafficking to sharpen New Jersey's focus in the fight against this terrible crime by channeling more resources and greater attention to the problem. This effort is already producing results. Just over a week ago, the New Jersey Attorney General's office arrested 6 people in Lakewood, New Jersey, and charged them with various human trafficking and other offenses. Accused of running a sophisticated network that brought dozens of women into the United States from Mexico to work in illegal brothels. Those arrested in Lakewood will now face new, tougher penalties if convicted. And their victims have been saved from the degradation their captors were subjecting them to. As satisfying as it is to see justice done to the traffickers, there is even a greater sense of accomplishment in restoring freedom to those who are held brutally in bondage. There are, of course, efforts underway to find and prosecute human traffickers both at home and abroad, as well as efforts to identify and aid the innocent victims of human trafficking. The Department of State's Office to Monitor and Combat Trafficking in Persons leads our nation's efforts to combat human trafficking around the world. The Department of Homeland Security's Blue Campaign works with law enforcement, state and local governments, various non-governmental organizations, and other private groups to provide information, training, and outreach. Countless law enforcement officers and prosecutors at every level of government are united in the fight to end human trafficking. And untold numbers of organizations and caring people have committed themselves to aiding the survivors of this terrible assault on human dignity. In this body, the Senate Caucus to End Human Trafficking, led by my distinguished colleagues, the senior senator from Connecticut, Mr. Blumenthal, and the junior senator from Ohio, Mr. Portman, helps to combat human trafficking by promoting awareness, removing demand, supporting prosecution efforts, and providing appropriate service systems for survivors. I fully support their outstanding efforts and look forward to working with them on this important issue. And there's more we can do. Having served recently as Attorney General, I know that the states, and specifically the state attorneys general, feel hampered in their efforts to put an end to this insidious practice of using the internet to sell illegal sexual services, especially when they are exploiting the victims of human trafficking. I would urge my colleagues to carefully consider any proposals that may come forward to close loopholes in the federal law that are furthering the victimization of young women being held in bondage. There are, unfortunately, no easy answers. Human trafficking can be hard to detect and even harder to prove. It is not unusual for victims to be unaware that they are victims of a crime. Their captors are often successful at persuading their victim that what's happening to them is their own fault. And because of the incessant and violent intimidation to which victims are subjected, they may be even afraid to attempt to escape the situation they find themselves in. Fearing retaliation from their captors, or perhaps fearing that they will be deported or returned to the situation they sought to escape from in the first place, they are reluctant to seek help, or even to offer help in punishing their captors once they are freed. The challenge faced in fighting human trafficking is compounded because not enough people, even in law enforcement and the justice system, recognize it when they confront it. That is why efforts to promote greater awareness of the signs of human trafficking are indispensable to the success of this fight. And everyone can take up this cause their own way. One of the more inspiring efforts has been initiated by a group of middle and high school students from my state. In 2010, under the guidance of Dan Papa, an extraordinary social studies teacher, students at the Jefferson Middle School in Jefferson Township, New Jersey, formed an organization called Project Stay Gold. The students participating in Project Stay Gold have created a website, pieces of art, and launched an innovative mobile project to raise and spread awareness of human trafficking. The students and their teacher have set some ambitious goals for their work. One of those goals is to enlist the help of the NFL to raise awareness of human trafficking in advance of Super Bowl 48. Madam President, as a New Jerseyan, that is a goal that I share. The people of New Jersey are excited to be hosting this year's coming Super Bowl at world-class MetLife Stadium. We look forward to playing the first outdoor cold-weather Super Bowl in history. But New Jersey is also determined to prevent the usual influx of victims of human trafficking who, it is widely acknowledged, have in the past been brought against their will to the host cities of large international events like the Super Bowl as part of an illegal sex trade. I will be working with everyone involved in presenting the Super Bowl, including the National Football League and the host committee, to raise awareness to eliminate this insidious practice. And I know that Mr. Papa and the students involved in Project Stay Gold at Jefferson Middle School will enthusiastically join me in that effort. Each of us, Madam President, has the opportunity to help give voice to the voiceless victims of human trafficking. That is why I intend to focus much of the time I do have in this body to advancing the goal of ending human trafficking and aiding the victims of this terrible crime. I look forward to working with all of my colleagues and with all those who share my commitment to this fight. Finally, Madam President, as someone who is new here and will not be staying long, permit me to express my appreciation to so many of my colleagues from both sides of the aisle who have been extraordinarily generous with their time, their knowledge, and wisdom in helping me meet the awesome responsibility that I've been entrusted with. Senator McConnell has been especially helpful to me. He is a leader not just by title, but by the way he conducts himself every day in this body. I also want to thank my fellow New Jersey senator, Senator Menendez, whose collegiality and guidance have been of great assistance to me during my transition. Madam President, the Senate has long been guided by ancient traditions that have served the institution and the nation well. I trust that in the months and years ahead, it will continue to honor the practices that have caused it to be known as the world's greatest deliberative body. I will certainly try to do my part during my time here to honor those traditions and uphold the special and unique place this body holds in our system of governance. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.